Hey, I'm Rob Adler, and welcome to Understanding Upstate. It's the pod dedicated to exploring what makes upstate New York such a unique place. Each week, my co-host Jim Search and I dive into a new upstate topic to better understand what's up upstate. And today, we're talking about a mix of things. I've got about 3 names for this episode in our document. It's catching up, it's round up, it's mix up. We're doing all of it. Jim and I are each going to bring 3 different things, places, people from upstate New York, and we're going to kind of talk about, a mix of things that wouldn't necessarily make a full episode on their own, just kind of bring a potpourri of upstate topics today.
Yes. A corn up copia.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
There we go.
It's like that. So yes. Shall we jump into these?
Well, first I think we need to revisit something that was.
Duh. We just fucking.
It's all right. It's been a long record already. I think it's important for us to revisit something we talked about in our first episode, but we haven't really since then, or our first full episode.
Right.
And it's how we're defining upstate, which I don't know if it's just my algorithm because I host a podcast about upstate New York, but I see this video or these types of videos about every other day where it's people asking New Yorkers, how do you define upstate New York? Where's the line, right? And I also I get these videos sent to me. People, when they hear I host an upstate New York podcast, they're like, what is upstate New York? Well, we have our own definition we're using for this. Which I think for some people is too loose and for others is too strict, but it's I don't think anyone's happy with anyone's answer unless it's the exact same as theirs on this.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
I will say I like that they've given us so much power on this.
Right. Yeah.
They've given us a lot of definition here. So thank you. To those of you out there who have come to who pled your case to us.
Sure.
That's interesting.
I think one idea, I think maybe in a future episode, if we ever do a live episode, I think we hold a debate and we get a panelist of New Yorkers.
Oh, that's
and make
great.
A case for where the line is. And I just sit back and watch. It'd be an easy episode for me because I don't think I can, I'm not from upstate New York. I'm not even from New York State originally. So, I'm here to listen. I'm here to learn, Jim.
Sure. I can tell you one thing. It would be very, that's a great idea for a live episode. I can say it would be very hard for me to moderate that. I'll do my best to bite my tongue of what is my definition because
we'll moderate each other. And then by nature of that, we will moderate the debate.
Sure. I like that. But that's the thing, right? Is like, I'm from upstate New York. Mm-hmm. Like I have my definition. I feel like if you talk to my upstate brethren, and sisters, in upstate New York, we would very much have our definition of what that is.
Right. And
when someone would bring to us, like, for example, I don't know, someone from Newburgh was like, yeah, I'm from upstate New York. We'd be like, are you though? You sure about that? Are you sure about that? So like, and look, I mean, I can only speak at the end of the day, though, in all seriousness, I can only speak for me.
Sure.
I can tell you what the world, according to Jim Search, has to tell you about
and what to be clear, what is our definition? How are we defining it? To remind everyone.
So yeah, just to clear the air that if you are fucking with the Understanding Upstate podcast universe, what the definition of upstate New York is as follows. You have New York City, you have the 5 boroughs, right? Once you go north of the 5 boroughs, if you are along the Metro North line, you are in what is called downstate. You're not upstate yet.
Mm-hmm.
Once you are not accessible by the Metro North,
which is to say, like, commutable, right? Like that's a commuter train line, basically, right? You're not directly tied to the New York City ecosystem.
Correct.
Or easily tied.
So now that you have ventured beyond the Metro North transit, you are now in what is upstate New York. So you got upstate, you got downstate, and then you got New York City.
I think the part of the vitriol you can receive when one says a certain town isn't part of upstate, like that, the term downstate, like no one really uses that. There used to be a SUNY downstate, which was actually in Brooklyn. It's like a medical school, right? Or it might still exist. I can't remember. At one point, or there still is a SUNY downstate, but like that's not a phrase that gets used a whole lot, right? Or it's not certainly not used as much as upstate.
Right.
Am I right there?
Yeah. I mean, it's like, it's not as obviously it's not as popular as upstate New York.
So I think like when you say you're not part of upstate, there's a void. You're not part of, what are you a part of? We're not New York, like Newburgh's not New York City, I can tell you that much not. Too, right? So I think Jim, I'm a non-confrontational man.
Oh, I know this. I know this to be true.
So I think but I agree with your definition. So I think we need to empower those who are off the Metro North lines, but are not in New York City, to claim the term downstate and make it their own.
Take it as your own, man.
Yeah, that's what I think needs to happen.
Because as someone who has undeniably grown up in upstate New York, like I grew up very far away culturally and even in quality of life from New York City. Not distance. It's only 3.5 hours. I'm only 3.5 hours north of New York City.
Yep.
That even as you get closer to the city, there is still a shift from upstate New York.
Sure.
Because it's like, yes, when you're right outside New York City, you still have close access to New York City. Like you have people who work in New York City, who live in Peekskill, who live in Newburgh, who live in all of these towns that are off the Metro North. So it's not as if your life is radically it's a little different, but it's not radically different. Like you still go to a Broadway play if you live in Peekskill. You can't do that if you live in Rochester. You can't do that if you're in Syracuse. Like there's a different culture.
There's a cultural reliance, maybe? Is that too strong of a word?
Cultural reliance?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Like where a Syracuse or Rochester or Binghamton, again, because of their non-proximity to the city, like they can't rely on, like you said, like Broadway, like New York City culture, right? So something that's more commutable or has easy access to the city can have more of a cultural reliance on New York City, right? I don't know if reliance is too strong. Again, non-confrontational, Jim. I don't know if reliance is too strong. Influence. Let's go with influence.
There you go. Like there's a cultural, yes, I think that's a better suited phrase. There's a cultural influence that reverberates through the lines on the Metro North. Mm-hmm. So like, again, example, you can go to the Empire State Building if you live off the Metro North. You live in Peekskill, you can make a day out of New York City and then you're back, right? For less than $15 to get there, right? So you have that level of accessibility to New York City culture. You don't have that when you live in upstate New York. Yeah. And that's not to say that there isn't a individual culture that exists in Peekskill. I'm sure there's like a event that happens in Peekskill and I don't fucking know anything about.
There's some good breweries. There's some good breweries.
Like there's shit that happens in Peekskill that I don't know anything about that is very unique to Peekskill, right? Yeah. I'm just using that as an example. Now, you then have, so then as you go north, you have cities that and a vibe and an energy that is very much removed from New York City, which is why I make the case that if you are downstate, if you are on the Metro North, that you're not upstate, you're not from upstate New York. Your life is very different in that we didn't have access. Unless we wanted to make a trip out of New York City, we would get on a bus and travel 3.5 hours into a different place. And it's that way to this day. Binghamton is a very different place than New York City by leaps and bounds.
Yeah.
Johnson City, New York is very different from Binghamton, New York in some ways, but also very different from New York City. Fuck. Rochester, Syracuse, Buffalo, all those cities, all those major cities in upstate New York are different than New York City because they're in upstate New York. So to you speedy freaks out there, we wanted to give you a quick refresher. And if you're new to the game, know that when we are talking about upstate New York, we are talking about the cities that are located off of the Metro North, away from the Metro, not off the Metro North.
Oh, whoa.
Last minute change. Could you imagine if I just had the same passion and conviction and just totally heel turned on everything I just said? They're like, wow, Jim is psychotic, because that really contradicts everything that he just said.
That includes Connecticut, man.
Yep. that is a different universe altogether.
That's true.
No, if you are not accessible by the Metro North in New York State, then you, my friend, are in upstate New York. If you are on the Metro North, then you are downstate. And if you're in New York City, that is a very much of a slam dunk, because boy, does New York City, the folks from New York City, born and raised, man, there is a strong consensus, and I subscribe to it in part, that New York City is the center of the world. It is.
I've heard this before.
You have heard this. I have met people. We have met people that very much so believe that New York City is the absolute center of the world and that there is nothing else outside of New York City. Which, hey, I don't want to yuck your yum. Mm-hmm. You believe if that's going to float your boat, I am not here to stop you. So I certainly would never get in the way of anybody in New York City who is like, yeah, this is the center of the world. I don't even look up to upstate New York to see what's going on. And that's fine. Nobody cares. We don't acknowledge it. We'll do our own thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there you go, folks. That, again, Speedy Freaks, is the breakdown of what the fuck is going on with that.
Guys, I can't speak enough to the passion that Jim is. He grabbed the mic midway through that final closing statement.
Listen, well, yo, man, you know what? I'm very proud of upstate New York, and I
would argue upstate New York is proud of you, Jim.
I hope so, man. I really do. I try to put on for that area of New York State, because I am very much I have a lot of love for it.
All right. Well, I think we're gonna get a lot of hate mail, but that's fine. That's fine.
Bring it on.
I should say, I think we'll get that should get us some responses.
understanding upstate@gmail.com.
There you go.
Bring it. Send it our direction. We'll be happy to talk to you.
All right. Well, you know what, Jim? I'm happy to talk to you about this.
I'm always happy to talk to you, Rob.
Well, that's true too. But we got a real mix of shit today.
Yeah.
We're going to cover a lot of things. I don't know if you've seen what I've chosen, but I have I think a very unique choice in here. But let's get into it, man. We've got 6 things, 3 topics each of special selections that you can't find off the Metro North.
That's right, baby.
Do it.
All right. Well, this one, I feel like as I was talking all this shit here. So the potato chip was invented in upstate New York.
Yes. And I think this was in our first episode, this was a quiz question, I believe.
Yes.
But we didn't I don't know how much we talked about it.
So George Crumb was a black chef who worked at Moon's Lake House in Saratoga Springs, New York during the mid-1800s. According to culinary legend, Crumb invented the potato chip during his work at the restaurant. Although the myth has been challenged many times, the story is that Crumb invented the potato chip after slicing an order of French fries extra thin to spite a demanding customer. Hats off to you, George. It's Black History Month. Talk your shit, dude. I already know what this customer looks like who's giving you shit. Right. So the fact that you decided to slice that shit extra thin, good for you. I mean, I don't know if it solved the problem you wanted in that they probably really liked it. Right. And so they're like, this is really good. And he's like, fuck. All right. God damn it. Because I was trying to get you pissed off at these little ass French fries I try to give you. So, but hey, look, it's an upstate. That's a little fun fact from my native land of the upstate area. Rob, I pass it to you. What do you have for us in terms of a upstate fun fact?
All right. This, my first upstate fact / item is Eternal Flame Falls. Have you ever heard of Eternal Flame Falls?
I never have. I have not.
This is in upstate New York. Go figure. It's in upstate New York on our Upstate podcast featuring things from upstate New York. Specifically, it's in Western New York in Chestnut Ridge Park, which sounds delightful. And I first learned about this during the Buffalo Kansas City game that was like a week or two ago at this point, because mid-game they cut to this just a shot of this eternal flame, and it's a naturally occurring natural gas leak that is behind a waterfall, and like if you light it, it's not like leaking at such a rate that it'll explode. It's like an eternal flame. It'll just always be burning, right?
Interesting.
It looks like it's straight out of fucking Lord of the Rings. It's a flame behind a waterfall. Like it looks fake. It looks like it shouldn't be real, but it totally is. But during the football game, they cut to the flame without much explanation. They're like, and here's a picture of the eternal flame. Eternal flame falls. And it's just like, what am I looking at? What is this? This is delightful. So being the upstate podcaster that I am, I immediately started Googling, and
love it.
Yeah, it's this is from the Wikipedia description. Once considered an obscure attraction in the region, media attention improvements to the access trail have led to increased number of visitors. The increased popularity of the falls has been led to some negative impacts, such as an increase in litter, vandalism, pollution, and impacts on the surrounding terrain by tourists. So I guess don't go visit it, guys. Just enjoy that it exists. One of my favorite anecdotes about it is that like sometimes it goes out. Right. So they advise you to bring your own lighter, which might just if you want to see, you might have to light it. Which is, you don't see too often parks advising you to bring your lighters. Right.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like there is like probably a threat of a fire
Yeah. Well, I mean, not a threat, a hope. You're hoping for the fire.
Well, no. I mean, like, in terms of like why
sure.
you might be like, hey, don't bring don't bring open flame to all of these trees.
Right. I mean, it's behind a waterfall, though. There's a water shield, right? So as long as you're behind the waterfall while you're using the lighter, everything's fine. Everything's good. But yeah, pretty weird and pretty cool. Who knew? I mean, evidently people in Western New York knew. And now anyone who watched that football game also is perhaps puzzled by it, but also knows. But yeah, I was delighted to learn about this naturally occurring eternal flame.
The eternal flame. So I've decided. I made a game time decision.
Oh my goodness!
I'm gonna throw out another fun upstate fact. Yeah, I'm calling an audible here. And I've decided to look at Cooperstown, New York.
Oh, sure.
Which has the National Baseball Hall of Fame.
I've been to Cooperstown, yeah.
As have I. So should you ever decide to go up to Cooperstown, you can go to the Baseball Hall of Fame, which has had how many elite baseball players have found their way into the Hall of Fame over the years. And in fact, one of my personal favorite players, Derek Jeter, is of course in the Baseball Hall of Fame. So I do want to shout out that little place in upstate New York, Cooperstown. And fun fact about the Baseball Hall of Fame, the first 5 baseball players to be inducted were Ty Cobb, Babe Ruth, Honus Wagner, Christy Mathewson, and Walter Johnson.
All right.
These are the first 5 to ever make it.
They're all okay at baseball. They're fine, I guess.
Yeah, they were all right. I mean, you know what? And all pretty decent guys. I mean, you know, yeah. Ty Cobb was a real darling of a man. You know what I mean? He wasn't known for being racist in 1912 or anything like that, which I have a really good joke about how Ty Cobb was known for being racist in 1912, which you got to be a real big racist for them to know you, for you to be known about that in 1912, because everybody was racist as shit.
You got to put in some legwork on that one.
You got to do some real work here. So that is my second fun tidbit about the lands north of New York City. Rob, what do you got for us for your second?
I was going to add a little bit of personal Cooperstown experience. I was there with my wife, I don't know, 3 years ago, maybe 2 years ago. In the last few years, we stayed in Cherry Valley, which is like just outside. I think it's like the next town over. And I think we were the only people when we went to Cooperstown not there for the baseball Hall of Fame. And it was evidenced by I think we are the only people there that also weren't middle-aged white men on a like guy trip.
Yeah.
A lot of guy trips to Cooperstown.
Oh, 100%.
There's a lot of whiskey bars, a lot of cigar stores. Like the whole industry is around dudes. The whole industry of the town is around dudes.
To the shock of no one.
Yeah. But it's a lovely lovely town. Man, I had something else to say about Cooperstown. I'll hint this because I do want to do a future episode on this. The first game of baseball was potentially played in Cooperstown, which is why the Hall of Fame is there. However, fucking Hoboken also claims this, and we're in a future episode we'll get into why Jersey is wrong on they're not always wrong, but they're wrong on this one.
They have the right to be wrong.
That's true.
True. All right, Rob, give us your second second fun fact.
All right, this
Upstate.
is I'm going to get really excited about this one. We're going to talk about last episode we talked about Griselda. This is my Griselda in that we're going to talk about Prince.
Okay.
Prince is from Minneapolis. I'm from
Sure.
the suburbs of Minneapolis. He's very much a hometown hero. We talked a little bit about him during the Rick James episode. I feel like maybe we talked about him. I actually briefly mentioned this a few episodes ago at this point, but there's an album he recorded in upstate New York, right? Which
Yes.
I found on eBay. And on Instagram, one of our fans, Adam, shouted out this album on a post about something else, but he was excited about it. He also really likes Prince, and had visited Paisley Park Studios recently. Anyway, he pointed out that this album is available online. So I did some digging, and the important thing is this album was recorded in 1985 in Syracuse. It was actually a live broadcast, not in the United States, but to Europe for some reason. I don't know why. It was like Eurovision broadcast for millions of people worldwide, and a sold out, what appears to be a sold out stadium in Syracuse. This is almost 40,000 people, 40,000 fans at the Carrier Dome. 1985 Prince and the Revolution. This is peak Prince, right? So I'm not even to the exciting part, Jim. Not even the exciting part. My thing for today, second item, is Prince's nearly 20-minute version of Purple Rain that he performed for Syracuse to close out this concert. 20 minutes. My mind was blown that this exists. And it's like an 8-minute song usually. It's already a long song, right?
I was going to say, it's a pretty long song in and of itself. So to send that puppy into 20...
He stretched the taffy, man. But I'm going to give you a beat-by-beat breakdown because, A, you can listen to it, but I would argue you should watch it because there is a version of it on YouTube. It's only 16 minutes, which I know. They cut a little bit off. They cut intro and outro out.
Sure.
But it starts with a 3-minute introduction. It's a full song's worth of ramping up into Purple Rain. Prince isn't on stage yet. It's the most purple I've ever seen any video on YouTube ever be. Just purple light everywhere, just bathing in purple. We get an intro. It's like a little guitar, rhythm guitar, drums. 3 minutes. Prince comes out, and he gives us a 3-minute guitar solo intro. Not everyone knows it, but Prince is an insanely good guitar player. He's
classically trained in 12 instruments.
Yeah, he can shred. He's really good. So he gives a nice introductory guitar solo. 6 minutes in, he starts singing Purple Rain. He's wearing velvet, leopard, lace. We got fur. There's more people on stage than there are in the goddamn audience. This is huge. Whoever's doing
this is perfect.
Whoever's working the cameras and did the production, they're juicing it up at this point. We're getting all these beautiful cuts. Prince is swaying the guitar neck with the way that people are moving their hand. It's Jim, I get emotional at this point.
You're getting emotional right now.
I know. I know. He then goes, through the main chunks of Purple Rain, or at least the main verse, chorus. We hit minute 10. He goes into a 6-minute guitar solo. This is the big climactic solo of Purple Rain, and he's fucking giving it all he's got, which is a lot. He's got a lot to give on the guitar. he like at a certain point he just like knocks the mic stand over. It's like, fuck this, and then he's like gets the crowd to like start singing. 40,000 people singing the like the refrain for Purple Rain, and you can hear it. People are so fucking into it. Again, he's spent at this point 16 minutes just people like getting into this moment, and then we cool off over another 3 minutes of just like twinkly synths and cymbals, and like it's oh man, it's good. Just go listen to it. Go listen to it. Go watch it. It's delightful.
Well, you sold it. You sold it.
It's and he like there's interviews with band members, and like again this was like such a culmination and peak of Prince's career, right? Again, 1985, Purple Rain, the movie, an album had just come out the year before. Bobby Z, who's his drummer, he said like Syracuse is one of those memories I'll never forget, right? Like playing for that big of a and like Prince started the show. He came out, hello, Syracuse and the world. My name is Prince, and I've come to play with you. I love that. I love that.
Oh, you loved it. You love to hear that.
Yeah, so it's...
Only good things are going to come of that.
There you go. So this, like... Yeah, just this kind of pivotal moment in Prince's long career. It happened in Upstate for a European audience and Syracuse.
And 40,000 people in Syracuse.
Which I think is pretty cool.
I always like to throw out, somewhat relatedly that right now the population of Binghamton, you could fit everyone in Binghamton in the Carrier Dome. The entire city.
There you go.
In the Carrier Dome.
I think that will be, that's an episode. We're going to get everyone, we're going to haul them all up to Syracuse. Yeah, that's my pitch. I got nothing beyond that. We'll figure it out. We'll figure out.
Yeah, we'll figure out when we get there.
Yeah.
I've been to the Dome a couple times in my life. But that's impressive.
Yeah.
That is impressive. I mean, a real watershed moment for the purple
I didn't even mention the purple sequin cloak that he's wearing at the end. Just go watch it. Just go watch it.
Yeah, just get in. We'll put the link in the notes.
Yeah,
for you to get into it. Should you need it, which you will. You'll need it.
Yep.
Now, I guess I'll jump in with my third.
I didn't even set you up. I'm just literally just thinking of.
Nah, look, that's
I've been transported to Syracuse in 1985. I got to bring it back to Brooklyn 2024.
You're not the first person to go back to Syracuse 1985, baby.
Jim, share with me your third item of interest.
My final item of interest is this. The inventor of the flight simulator is from Binghamton, New York.
You don't say.
Believe it or not. I do, and I want to. I want to say that right now. During the Depression era, a Binghamton resident by the name of Edwin A. Link developed a flight simulator, which today, if you find EA Link, there's the link in right outside of Binghamton, New York. Since the creation of the flight simulation, Link Aviation and its successor companies have been the world leaders in training pilots. So had it not been for Edwin A. Link, we would not be as far as we are in terms of how to train pilots to fly.
Did you see any pictures of this flight simulator?
Have I seen the pictures?
Yeah.
You got them queued up?
Yeah.
It sounds like you do.
I do.
I don't, but now
I mean, I'll describe it as you take a look, because I don't see like a year that it was created, but I like he died in 1981, so it's like, well, this has got to be like pre-computers, like flight simulators we know today, right? Like you just play it on your goddamn iPhone. It's like a miniature plane with all the dials, and I think it's on some kind of like hydraulic box system, so you're moving around in like a full little mini plane. Like it's
And this was all thanks to Edwin A. Link.
Man, this is awesome. I want one of these in my living room, man. Look at this thing.
I feel like your wife may have some questions about that.
Well, that's true.
Maybe it's better to ask for forgiveness, not permission in this situation. So before Link's death in 1981, he obtained more than 27 patents for aeronautics, navigation, and oceanographic equipment. The field on which Greater Binghamton Airport lies is named after Link.
Very cool.
So that is what I have for me. Rob, bring us home with your final fun upstate tidbit.
So, Jim, if I were a better podcaster, I would have saved my enthusiastic Prince description for the very end, because that would make sense to climax the episode with that. However, I didn't, and we're going to be ending today's episode with the world's largest pancake griddle, which is located in Penn, New York. Which it's a pretty big pancake griddle. This thing is like at least 2 stories tall. It was used to create the world's largest pancake on September 27th, 1987, which, gosh, I think it was 28. It's 28 feet in diameter, 28 feet and 1 inch in diameter. Big pancake. But yeah, I believe the Brisket Mills mill facility was, chasing after a world record, as one does. They wanted to make a real big pancake, Jim, and you know what? They did.
They did it.
This was at the annual Buckwheat Harvest Festival, which we'll add it to our long list of events we need to get to this coming year. But yeah, Jim, it's a big old circle, and they still got it. They got it outside, just bolted to the building.
That's pretty fucking hilarious.
Yeah. Well, why don't we wrap up this roundup and tell everyone what we're fucking with next week, Jim?
Well, I will tell you one thing. If you keep drilling towards next week, you just might find what we're going to be about.
Well, while they are, I was trying to think of another pun to say on top of it. I'm not gonna. While they're trying to figure out what that riddle is, Jim, what are some things that they could occupy their time with? Not even just occupy their time, delight themselves with.
So time will fly when I give these recommendations here, my friend. First off, you have the upstate crown jewel of an album, Upstate Understandings. That is my first comedy album, produced by Rob Adler. It is a dope ride. You want to find out how to get it? I'll tell you. Go to jimsearch.bandcamp.com, and that is where you can purchase the album. And if you buy one, you can buy another one. Remember, folks, the world is yours, and you need to make that possible for yourself. So go ahead and run that up. Also, head over to jimsearchcomedy.com. I got a lion's share of dates that you can go see me do comedy and all that fun stuff. And also, speaking of comedy, March 23rd, Stellar presents over at Stellar Human in Binghamton, New York. It's going to be a comedy show. My homie Stephen Brown's going to be hosting it. I'm going to headline. There's going to be some special guests. Edwin A. Link might be there. You know what I mean? George Crumb may show up. The Eternal Flame may pop up. Prince might even be there. Who knows, right? So, go buy tickets. You can buy tickets, at the door. They're $25. If you buy them online, they're $20, and you get 30% off in the store the day of the show. Doors are at 6:30, shows at 7, March 23rd, Stellar Human.
There we go.
Now, with that being said, you have done all these things, and yet you are thirsty for more.
Mm-hmm.
You want more cultural enlightenment. You want some entertainment. Rob, can you possibly help them out with this? Where can they go?
I can. Say, you may be saying to yourself, what is the musical equivalent of the world's largest pancake griddle? And I will tell you, a good front runner for that would be my album, New York Sticky, available at brooklynfrequency.bandcamp.com. It is it's iconic. It's not a world record holder yet, but it could be if you go buy it. It's sleek. It's
sleek.
Yeah, that's where the analogy runs out. But yeah, available at brooklynfrequency.bandcamp.com. Go check it out. It's an all instrumental album. I think it will delight you. As I hope we have delighted you here today with our mix of items. If we have, you can go rate our show, give us 5 stars if you can on Apple Podcasts. Also throw us a positive review. That really helps us be discoverable by new listeners on all the various podcast platforms. If you do throw us a review, you can also write in a suggestion for something else to cover on a future episode. Follow us on Instagram at understandingupstate. Send us an email if you want, because you agree with our definition of upstate. Or if you don't, tell us why we're wrong, and then we will turn that into comedic content in the future.
Yeah, we'll be able to turn that around for you. Yeah. And also, tell us why we're wrong, and we'll tell you why we're not.
There we go.
How about that? Let's do that. So there it is, man. There it is,
Jim. I think I already burned my pun for getting us out of here, which is a real bummer. But I'll say it again. Let's wrap up this mix-up and get on out of here.
Love it. Understanding Upstate is a podcast hosted by Jim Search and Rob Adler, edited by Rob Adler, and music from Regal Monk.